Hey there, welcome to this tutorial on the Unity HoloSuite Player. The HoloSuite Player now offers streamlined setup and more broad support for Unity's available render pipelines. Setting up a player is quick and simple. In this video, we'll walk through how to import the HoloSuite Player plugin into your Unity project and the steps to set up the player. Start by creating a new project in Unity Hub. You can choose a template that matches your project type, as the HoloSuite Player is supported in the Unity built-in render, URP, and HDRP. In this case, we'll set up the project using the built-in render pipeline as our example. With your project created, start by adding the HoloSuite Player Unity package tarball. From the window menu, select Package Manager. In the Package Manager window, use the plus icon to add a new package. Select the Add Package from Tarball option from the drop-down menu and head over to the Plugins folder in your HoloSuite install directory and select HoloSuite Player Unity Plugin. For quick access to some sample data, ensure the HoloSuite Player selected in the Package Manager imports the HoloSuite Player samples into your project. With the package imported and sample loaded, we're ready to set up the player. Now, before diving into how to set up the player from scratch, it should be noted we do include a sample scene that's already set up. In the project panel under the Assets folder, you'll find a folder called Scenes. Within that, you'll find two example scenes. Double-clicking on one or the other will automatically load a demo volumetric capture and a HoloSuite Player. In their hierarchy panel, you can then select the HoloSuite Player, and back over in the inspector, you can replace the OMS source and video clip assets with your own for the quickest way to get up and running. Now that we've got that covered, let's set up our own scenes from scratch. In order for Unity to play back OMS and MP4 files, it's important to have the frame encoding enabled when exporting from HoloEdit. You can tell if your MP4 has frame encoding by previewing it in Video Player. If there is a black and white bar on the bottom right-hand corner of your MP4, there is frame encoding present. OMS and MP4 data that does not include frame encoding must be placed inside of the Streaming Assets directory, located in the Assets project folder. If you do not have a Streaming Assets folder, create one under Assets. Since your data is encoded, we're going to drag and drop our MP4 and OMS right into the HoloSuite Player folder. Once the OMS files have been loaded into the Unity project, you can inspect them by clicking on the OMS file. This will show you some statistics for the file and a preview of its mesh in the inspector. This is useful for checking if your OMS includes retargeting data or normals. Next, we'll want to create a material to match your active render pipeline. Right-click in the project panel at the location where you'd like to place your material and select Create, Arcturus, your active render pipeline, and desired material type. For each render pipeline, there are two material types, lit and unlit. Lit allows the lighting in your scene to cast lighting on the texture based on the contours and normals of the mesh. The unlit material uses an emissive lighting to evenly light the OMS clip. To learn more about the materials that are generated for each render type, take a look at the HoloSuite Player Materials and Shaders section of our documentation. This material will be used once we create our HoloSuite Player game object. Next, we'll create the main HoloSuite Player game object that will play your OMS clip. Right-click in the Hierarchy panel and select Create Empty. For this example, we'll name the game object HoloSuite Player. In the Inspector panel for the game object, click the Add Component option and search for the HoloSuite Player, or select it at Arcturus, HoloSuite Player. Now that we have the HoloSuite Player in our scene, we just need to configure it. For OMS with MP4 containing frame encoding, use the Assets option. For this source type, simply drag your OMS file into the OMS source field and do the same for the MP4 file into the video clip field. You can also select the appropriate asset by using the Target button. If you have data without frame encoding that's been imported in the Streaming Assets folder, select the Streaming Assets option. For the OMS and video file name field, enter the path, file name, and file extension for your OMS and MP4 files here. This path is relative to the Streaming Assets folder, so if you have your OMS in the root of the Streaming Assets folder, just enter its file name and file extension. For the Material field, drag and drop the material created in the previous step into this field, or select it using the Target button. Lastly, there are the playback settings. When Play on Awake is checked, it will start playing the OMS when the scene starts. To disable this, simply uncheck the box. Loop will loop the OMS, disabling this will play it through once. Alright, that covers all the required settings to get you started. You can now play your Unity scene and the HoloSuite Player will begin playback of your OMS clip. For more information, please refer to our documentation and follow us for future updates and tutorials on HoloSuite. Thanks for watching.